Hello there, welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be looking at the classic seminal Once Upon a Time in China, directed by Tsui Hark, made back in 1991, starring Jet Li. The film that really did catapult Jet Li into sort of leading man, sort of main actor status. Jet Li had done films before this, but it was really Once Upon a Time in China that really cemented him very much so at the box office and as a leading man, and made everybody sort of take notice really. Tsui Hark obviously most famous for like directing films such as Zoo, Warriors from the Magic Mountain, producing Ching Su Tung's Chinese Ghost Story. But yeah, we'll be talking about Once Upon a Time in China today, the original. Did I like it? Did I enjoy it? Is it a good film? Is it a good Jet Li film? Is it worth checking out? It's worth mentioning straight away that when this was made, sort of traditional based, like traditional setted sort of kung fu movies were not the in thing to do. It was really not in vogue at this point. You're talking. There was very much in the late 80s, well, mid to late 80s, around that time. It was very much modern day setting. It was very much cops and robbers. You're looking at films such as sort of Tiger Cages, Yes Madams, your police stories. It was all set in modern day. That was where it sort of shifted to after sort of the golden age of sort of the kung fu boom in the late 70s, early 80s. And this is very much where it shifted to. It was modern day action. So doing something like this, like a traditionally set kung fu movie, it was not in vogue. It was not the in thing to do. And full credit to like Soy Hart there for taking a risk, for doing something new, taking a bit of a gamble there. Like I say, it did make Jet Li a sort of household name. It did catapult him into. I mean, he was already sort of a big deal, but this film sort of just cemented that. And it sort of really launched sort of what was known as sort of the new wave of kung fu, where especially in the early mid 90s, there's a lot of wire work kung fu movies. It even inspired Jackie Chan to go back to his roots and do Drunken Master 2. It was this sort of Once Upon a Time in China that spearheaded that movement. Because I mean, Jackie Chan at that point was doing films, like you say, your Operation Condors, your Miracles, your City Hunters, your Super Cops. So, he decided, right, okay, that's obviously. I don't. This won't be. I won't go on about Jackie Chan too much in this review because obviously it's about Once Upon a Time in China. But it did. He obviously paid attention to that. Oh, that's what people want to see now. Right. What was my biggest hit? Right. Drunken Master. Okay. Right. Let's do a sequel to that. So even Jackie got on board with this. This is a film that is in no rush to tell its story. This is a film. I mean, yeah. Like going back to like I say, the old school kung fu movies. That they were about 90 minutes, hour and a half long. This film is over 2 hours. It's like I say, it's in no rush to tell its story. This was a film that was artistic, that was going to take its time, was in no rush to tell its story, and it was something different. And it brought the traditional martial arts movies up to date. It really did bring it slap bang up to date. And of the time. I mean, in this film, there are moments of reflection, of subtlety, of character development, time given to the supporting characters, which you very much didn't get in the classic kung fu movies. It was basically just anything to get to the next fight, really. It was basically whatever means necessary can get you, to the next rumble. So this was a film where it wasn't just about how can we get to the next action set piece. And believe you me, there are some amazing action set pieces in this. But this was, obviously, about Wong Fei Hung and set a very, turbulent time in China. Lung Fun, played by Yun Bu, has an important subplot in this movie, and it's worth mentioning at the time. At the time of shooting, I mean, he was an even bigger star than Jet Li when this film was actually being made. So full credit to like Yun Bu for. I mean, Yun Bu has always been. He's had leading roles, of course, but he's always been that sort of supporting player that he does so well. Yun Bu obviously being one of the three brothers, as we know, is Sammo Hung, Jackie Chan. But here, as I say, he's very much supporting Jet, and it's wonderful to see Yun Bu and Jet Li on screen. It really is fantastic. I mean, it's wonderful, regardless of the film. It's just nice to have a film where Yun Bu, Jet Li together. Absolutely amazing, really good stuff. I mean, film is focused notion of foreign intervention. Foreigners, the Americans and the British in this, see China as a resource sort of to be exploited, and its people made into slaves. It's very unsettling scene where they are trigger happy and shoot the people in the audience of an opera. I mean, it's very sort of almost like the Chinese people were expendable and like the foreigners were just sort of taking over their country. And this is what this, like I say, the sort of the story behind this film is about, just foreign intervention and getting with the times, and how change is not always good, but sometimes it's inevitable. And some really important plots here, some really important points that you didn't sort of get in other, kung fu movies. They're just they just didn't do that. But I mean, they're like promising the Chinese that they can go to San Francisco, but used as like a cover, just like for being slaves, things like that. I mean, there's fantastic cinematography in this film. It really is outstanding. It's really, the way the film looks, it really is crisp. It's clear. It looks fantastic. Even the opening scene with Jet Li and his followers performing martial arts along the beach, just the way it's shot, it really just, from that opening scene alone, you're just sucked in, you're gone. And when that music kicks in, the infamous musical score, you can tell this is not going to be like anything you've sort of seen up to this point. This is a film where real effort has been put in, not to disregard any other filmmaker, but especially like a Hong Kong sort of action film. There's really sort of, you can tell that this is something they thought carefully about. This is something they've put time and effort into doing and planning and things like that. I mean, Tsui Hark really directing well here. I mean, even the opening scene, the camera pans from like this restaurant and it moves out on like and goes down onto the street, and it's all in like one continuous take, and you can tell this is Tsui Hark really, really directing his arse off here with this film. I mean, like I say, it's not just static camera movements, he's moving the camera around. Even, like I say, if you look at the opening shot to this, including the Jet Li with his followers at the beginning, it's a fantastic way to open the film. It just draws you in. You know this is going to be a film of epic, and like I said earlier, it's in no rush to get from sort of one fight to the next or to get from A to B. It'll take its time. It's in no rush. I mean, Jet Li, a lot of the time, he is not even centre stage. A lot of the time, it's the supporting players that come through that are getting their moment to shine. So that's really good as well. Rosamund Kwan in this is as beautiful as ever. Her character of like as 13 Advances embracing Western cultures. Very funny scene at the beginning where she's about to take a photo. Jet Li's character Wong Fei-hung is very sceptical of like Western technology and moving forward, and she tortures this bird with the camera, and it's quite amusing at the start. She just basically burns this bird to a crisp, completely annihilates it. Fei-hung as a character in this played wonderfully by Jet Li. Really, I mean, he is Wong Fei-hung, and this is like I say a role that really when you think of Wong Fei-hung, you just think of Jet Li in the first three Once Upon a Time in China movies and Once Upon a Time in China America. It's worth mentioning as well, he did play Wong Fei-hung in a Wong Jing vehicle called Last Hero in China, which I don't think has been released on Blu-ray to my knowledge. I think it was released on DVD in the late 90s, but I don't think there's been a re-release of it since. As I say, Fei-hung is very traditional. He's sceptical of Western things and change, and the film sort of hints towards his reluctant acceptance of how times are changing, and he wants things to remain the same. The Chinese people don't want things to change, and if they do change, they don't want to be told what to do. They don't want intervention from any foreign powers. Very proud people. And as mentioned, we have Yuen Bu, we have Ken Chung here, most famously, if you've seen the film Crime Story, he's sort of Jackie's evil, corrupt partner in that. He plays Butcher Wing, the character most made famous by Sammo Hung from Yuen Bing's vehicle Magnificent Butcher. Yan Shi Kwan plays the villain in this. He's in a couple of the early Jackie Chans. He's sort of an old school kung fu villain. He's the villain in Dragon Fist and Fearless Hyena. So it's wonderful they brought somebody back from sort of the kung fu heyday to sort of play the main sort of antagonist. He's not even really an antagonist in this film. That's what's very interesting. Even the villain himself is not really a villain. He's not what you would call your stereotypical villain. It's not the guy who Jet Li fights at the end. It's not him that is the main. They're people just who are in this situation, these Chinese people that are in this situation that due to certain circumstances, people have different ways they go about things in order to survive and get where they need to go. I mean, there's an awesome scene of Yan Shi Kwan and Jet Li kicking this like wooden beam around in the rain with the music and the way it's shot. This is kind of scene that could only happen in Hong Kong cinema, just the way it's filmed and the way it's done. Honestly, when it's in the rain, as I said, they're just kicking this wooden, and the wire work is absolutely fantastic. It really, really is incredible stuff. Also love the scene when the poachy lamb is being hit by loads of fire arrows. And the way it's filmed and shot, and I mean, it just looks incredible. And I'd say you've got people shooting, like, burning out, like, arrows coming in, covered in flames and fire, and just the way it's done, how they go about filming this stuff, I have no idea. But full credit to Tsui Hark, the production team, everybody involved in this is fantastic. As you mentioned, like, Yuen Bu, he's sort of the subplot character in this film. and they all get time to shine. Like I say, it's not just Jet Li. Unfortunately, Yuen Biao doesn't really get to do much in the way of acrobatics until sort of the end. You don't really get to see him do much. It's not sort of like like Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars or Dragons Forever or Righting Wrongs or anything like that. Yuen Biao is very much, I mean, he's brilliant in this, Yuen Biao. I mean, he's always brilliant in whatever he's in, but in this he's playing, I mean, he plays characters Lung Fun absolutely brilliantly, but just in regards to movements and acrobatics and watching Yuen Biao do flips and any like sort of choreography, it's not until the end that he actually gets moments to shine. As mentioned, the choreography and wire work in this are very different to what we had seen before. Then, like I mentioned, this brought in sort of the new wave of kung fu movies in the 90s, and it brought the kung fu movie and the kung fu hero slap bang up to date. It very much brought it back, got things sort of rolling again in regards to sort of a traditional martial arts movie. The film was in no rush here, as I say. It had a story to tell. Even when the main villain has been defeated, even though not really a villain, he's just working with criminals to make a better life for himself. He's not, like I said earlier, he's not necessarily evil. It's just he's doing what he needs to do to survive, and that's very interesting. Rather than making like the villain just sort of asymmetrical, he is bad, that is it. There's levels here with this film, and that's what's so wonderful about it. And one of my favourite scenes, which I think is a really beautiful scene, is between Rosamund Kwan and Jet Li, where she's sort of stroking like Jet Li's head a lot on his shadow, and it's a really how can I put it? It's a heartfelt scene. It gives the whole film heart and the characters depth, and that's something this film really does have. It's it's a film of epic proportions. It really is. It's a film not to be taken lightly. There are there are some good comedic moments in this, especially with Ken Chung and Yuen Biao. But the film is very much told as sort of a moral story, and how sort of oppression and just, like I say, control and foreign intervention and things like that just happen, and it's not always for the benefit of everybody, and it doesn't always work, and getting with the times, things change, and that kind of. There's a lot of different topics here that Tsui Hark does cover. Really, again, just an amazing film, really good, and it's one of them films actually that I would say, like, if you've never seen a Jet Li film, you could start with this one. I would imagine. I mean, where it's his most famous seminal sort of breakout movie role. I think it's definitely one like to consider starting with if you've never seen any Jet Li vehicles before. It's a brilliant kung fu movie. I mean, it's not even just a kung fu movie. That's the great thing about it. You wouldn't look at this and just say, well, it's a kung fu movie. Yes, it is a kung fu movie, but it's a kung fu movie with heart, with depth, with characters, and everybody in this, especially Jet Li, Rosamund Kwan, absolutely amazing. Yuen Biao, I mean, you're getting some great, amazing, Hong Kong actors in this, really doing some amazing stuff. Wonderful direction, fantastic cinematography, and a real epic in the kung fu movie genre. And whilst not exactly perfect in every aspect, the film has too many good things going for it to ignore. So if you've never seen it, make sure to check out Once Upon a Time in China.